What's up, everybody? Hey, I am back. Happy Friday, everybody. What is going on? Happy Friday. I hope you all had a wonderful week so far. It's Friday.
It's Friday, gotta get down on Friday.
Let's go. What the hell? Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Let's go. Let's go. Get up from your seat. Party hard. It's the weekend. All right, everybody. What is going on, everybody? It is Friday. I am so happy to be back here after... All right. Calm down. Jeez, Louise. What is happening? What's up, y'all? Happy Friday. Hope you all had a wonderful week, and I hope you're having a great start to your weekends. I am back. It's your boy, Renee, and we have some things to talk about today. The two new movies that are coming out well, there's actually 3 new movies that came out this week. One, nothing I'm interested in as far as a rom-com's concerned, and that is the Blake Lively movie. Even though it's supposed to be... I'm reading some interesting mixed stuff about this movie. It's a movie, and you can tell from the trailer, it's a movie about domestic abuse and domestic violence, and how does one deal with that. And the messaging sounds great, and I know it's based off of a very popular book out there, but it sounds like the execution may not be that great for some. But that is, regardless of the fact, that was not a movie I was interested in. Of course, I'm more interested into the fluff and the nerdy, tropey type movies and the horror thriller type movies. So, of course, Borderlands, the new movie by Eli Roth, starring Cate Blanchett, Kevin Hart, just to name a few. And brand new movie called Cuckoo. Cuckoo, cuckoo, cuckoo. Starring Dan Stevens and Hunter Schafer, who I'm not very familiar with, but apparently she was in the recent Hunger Games movie that I don't recall her in it. But then again, that movie was just kind of weird to me, and I don't remember actually much from it. Maybe if I went back and I revisited, I'll say, oh yeah, there she is, right over there. There's good old Hunter Schafer. So I'll be talking about those movies later on today, giving my thoughts and review on those movies. So obviously, if you're interested in that, then stay tuned. You are in the right place to learn more about these movies. As far as anything else concerned, there are some news bits that I would love to talk about and read here on stream. And we'll do so in a minute. But I had a very interesting week. Not interesting, but I mean, movie wise, because my week has been kind of busy, more personal stuff on the back end and all those things like that. And to wind down at the end of the day, I found myself watching some movies. There's no really major TV shows or streaming shows right now that is out, even though there are some that I haven't even seen yet that I should probably be spending my time catching up on. I still haven't finished Fallout. I still haven't watched Shogun yet. So there are a lot of series I should be probably watching up on. I know the final season of Umbrella Academy came out. That I think I will eventually watch. The 3rd season, I kind of fell off quickly because it just felt boring and dull to me in the beginning. So I never went back to it, even though I've been meaning to go back to it, but it's just something I never went back to. So I think eventually I'll go and finish things off there, but I still haven't watched the recent season of The Boys or whatever. But no, I spent my time to wind down watching movies. And last week, I know we were talking a lot about M. Night Shyamalan and some of his movies. I did a ranking of his movies, so if you want to check out the last stream on Friday, I did like a ranking there. I don't remember if I chaptered it out, but I probably should, and I'll make sure to do that. But I kind of, I decided to go back to some of his movies that I haven't seen in a minute. I kept saying like The Village is one of his most underrated movies, and I still believe that too. But I haven't watched the movie in years, so I decided to rewatch it. And yeah, that damn movie holds up, man, for me. That movie is still very well done. The cast, when you sit down and look at it, it's amazing the cast he was able to put together for this film. Obviously, this was the first movie. This was like the acting debut, really, as far as movies are concerned, for Bryce Dallas Howard. But you had William Hurt in it, Adrian Brody, Joaquin Phoenix. You also had Sigourney Weaver in this movie. The cast was so stacked in it, and yeah, it reminded me of how good M. Night can be as a filmmaker. There's just something about the cinematography. The cinematography was the director of photography was Roger Deakins, and I totally even forgot about that. So it makes perfect sense why the movie looks so damn good and it flows really well and nicely. But it's such a level of movie making that M. Night is so capable of that it makes me wonder, like when I see movies like Old or even like recently now Trap, what happened to that? You know, it's just so amazing to see how well of a filmmaker he could be, and then just to see movies like Old and Trap just be like, you know, kind of like mediocre type of fares and all that. Then after that, I watched Signs again, because that is a movie that I can always watch. And yeah, to this day, that movie still holds up. But I finally gave myself a chance to watch The Visit, which I know a lot of people have been saying that that is one of their favorite M. Night Shyamalan movies. It really helped him get back into, I guess, kind of prominence, or having the audience trust that he could still be a decent filmmaker. This kind of was the movie that kind of, I guess, spurred that for him, and had people kind of say, "Oh, look, M. Night's back. You know, the good old Shyamalan is back," and all that. Because after that, because before that, a lot of his movies were kind of like mediocre or just bad, right? He did Lady in the Water, he did Avatar, he did that Earth movie with Will Smith and Jaden Smith, The Happening. Like, he had just a slew of just, I don't know if you want to call them official misses, but definitely not the caliber of quality that we were so accustomed to earlier on in his career. But it was The Visit that a lot of people said that really brought things back. So, but it's a movie that I've never had a chance to see. So I finally sat down and I watched this week, and I get it. I get why this movie is so good and why people like it so much. I was actually surprised as to how creepy this movie was. It really brought M. Night back to more of like the horror thriller type of movie that he can do, like the genre that I think a lot of people are familiar with when it comes to M. Night movies, especially in the early beginnings. I love that. Yes, it is another kind of like almost like a found footage type of film, but it's more like documentary style, because spoiler alert, the two that are mainly involved in the movie, the two kids, they survived at the end of the movie. So it's not like they passed away and they found the footage just lying around somewhere. No, it's this, you know, this girl who's doing a documentary on her family. And she was able to finally put the documentary together at the end of the film after all the events of what transpired. And I love the twist in it. It was a twist that I already kind of knew was the case, but I didn't know exactly how they were going to explain things. I was thinking more supernatural. For those of you who don't know much about the movie, you have Catherine Hahn, who is the mom of these two kids. And there's a story that Catherine Hahn shares with the kids that when she was young, she fell in love with some substitute teacher or something like that, that the parents were not approving of. You know, they said that he had wandering eyes or something like the relationship would not last long, right? But she disagreed. They had a falling out. She left home, and ever since then, she's never spoken to her parents. She eventually had kids with this guy. The guy did eventually leave her for somebody else, I believe for a barista or something like that. So the kids have been pretty much brought up and left on their own without a father, right? And they were just with their mom. But she was receiving messages from her grandparents that they want to see their grandkids. So she decides, okay, they're old enough to hang out with their grandparents and meet them for the first time and all this kind of stuff like that. They go and it's like a week's worth of a vacation, and this week it just becomes a crazy hot mess for these kids. A lot of weirdness and strangeness going on in the house. The grandparents are acting all weird and funky, and during night times, the grandma is running around naked doing crazy stuff and all those things like that. To find out that these are not their grandparents, right? And I thought it was like a supernatural thing. I thought it was like a body snatcher situation where like aliens showed up and started like taking over the bodies, to be like their host, and then they're out to kind of like do something wacky or whatever. But it just turns out it's more of a scarier premise where it's the grandparents used to volunteer or volunteered at like kind of like a hospital, like a support center, where they actually had a lot of mental patients, and these mental patients escaped, killing them and taking over their personas because they wanted to meet these grandkids that they kept talking about, which is so fascinating. And now that they're there, their whole plan from the beginning was to eventually kill these kids, right? So that they can join their own kids, which I believe the story goes that the mom, who's the grandma, drowned them in some lake somewhere because she was under the belief that there are these aliens living at the bottom of the ocean or something, and they were like stockpiling bodies or something like that. It's very creepy and terrifying, and there were a lot of moments within the movie that I found myself jumping, and be like, oh snap. There was a really good jump scares that were done very well. And I loved it too that, at least not from what I saw, but he wasn't even in the movie at all. Maybe he was in the background somewhere, but he didn't give himself one of these like prominent roles like he's so used to doing in his other movies. Maybe I missed it, I don't know. But I love that it felt to me like he was taking this movie very seriously, right? Even though it looked like it was done for a smaller budget, I love the fact that he teamed up with Blumhouse to help do this movie. And it was very well done and executed. And I loved how it all turned out. Yeah, the little boy's annoying with a white boy rapper and all that. And that was kind of like, really seriously, we're going this way with this kid. And the girl seems to be a little bit more intelligent than normal. But I think overall it worked. The actress who played the grandma was brilliant. She was so good in this movie. And I think I was just pleasantly surprised in how good this movie was. And if I were to go back to the rankings that I did last week, I would definitely now put The Visit probably around the A ranking. I wouldn't say it's S tier, or maybe I would do that. It depends on the week. It could go either way. But it definitely should be noted that this is indeed a movie, I would say, that helped bring M. Night Shyamalan back into prominence and to better favor with his audience. And then eventually from here, that's where you got movies like Split and Glass and all the more recent offerings and all that. And now you can kind of say like maybe he's a little 50-50 back again, but nothing as cringy as like The Happening or Lady in the Water or After Earth. That's the name of the movie, I think, After Earth. And definitely not like Avatar, right? So at least he's kind of like, he's more above level than what he was in the past. But I was so happy that I finally had a chance to finally watch that movie. I was very pleasantly surprised by it all. And then lastly, I don't know what brought me to watch this movie again. It's a movie I haven't seen in a minute. But I think on YouTube, I was kind of recommended some old AC/DC live concert shows. Because I never seen AC/DC live in concert, but I always love their music. And they put on a great show, and the music is really kick-ass and all that, and really gets you pumping. And for some reason, it made me think of School of Rock. And I just decided to pop that in, just randomly one night after watching some of this concert footage on YouTube. And yeah, that movie is just so enjoyable. I love the chemistry Jack Black has with those kids, and how it was such a sweet story, very cute, and how everything was done. Yeah, I miss movies like that. And it was just really nice to revisit that movie after so long. So yeah, so I watched a lot. It's like a good mix of a lot of old movies that I've seen, and nice to see like one new movie that I haven't had a chance to see and have a chance to finally sit down and watch it. And I was very, very happy that I did that because it is such a great movie, The Visit. So I highly recommend The Visit. If you are like in the camp of, I don't think M. Night Shyamalan has done anything good recently, and you haven't seen The Visit yet, definitely do yourself a favor and check that movie out. Because that is something that it really reminded me of, okay, this is Shyamalan. This is how he can be as a filmmaker. And I kind of miss this. So definitely something worth checking out if you haven't done so yet. So yeah, so that has been pretty much my week. And it's been an interesting week. Like I said, very busy with personal stuff in the back end. Sorry, I'm just checking out some stuff here because I'm noticing something weird happening as far as monetization's concerned. I have it at balance, but I keep seeing ads popping up. So if you're watching on the horizontal stream or maybe even the vertical, let me know if you're being very like overly like served ads for no reason. YouTube's been very strange recently. I don't know exactly what's going on here or what's been going on with the platform, but it's been acting very funky in the last couple of weeks. So yeah, definitely let me know in the chat if you feel like the ads are just a little bit overbearing. And I'll try to adjust things as best as I can. But yeah, let me know in the comments what you thought about The Visit, if it's a movie you've seen in the past. Movies like School of Rock, Signs, The Village, those are the movies that I kind of rewatched again this week. And let me know if you haven't seen these movies yet, the new movies I'll be talking about in a little bit. Are you interested in watching Borderlands or Cuckoo? Let me know in the comments if these are movies you're planning to watch this weekend or in the upcoming weeks. I still think going into this weekend, I really strongly think that Deadpool and Wolverine is still going to remain number one. It's still going to do a lot of money. At the theater last night, it wasn't as packed as it has been the last couple of weeks, ever since Deadpool and Wolverine came out. But I still notice that it is busier than usual, than like a regular, typical Thursday evening. Especially when you don't have any major movies coming out. Some may argue Borderlands is a major movie, but it's really not. It's really not. I don't understand what's happening with this movie, and again, I'll talk about it more in a little bit. But let me start off with some headline news. Let's check out some of the latest news because there's some latest headlines that caught my eye that I found to be very interesting. One of which, and this is something that I covered the last time I think I was live, was, what was it? Boomerang was a platform service that is spawned off of the Cartoon Network that focused a lot on old school cartoons, mostly like the Hanna-Barbera stuff, the Looney Tunes stuff. So Warner Brothers Discovery closed that platform down, and they said that some, not all, of the programming that was seen on Boomerang was going to shift over to Max. Now it sounds like, and again, this is a site that I've never been to in a long time, or I haven't been to in a long time, I should say. Warner Brothers Discovery now shutters the Cartoon Network website. Not Cartoon Network, just the website. So I'm here on the Hollywood Reporter. Warner Brothers Discovery shutters Cartoon Network website. The site now what? What am I talking about? Hello? The site now redirects users to sign up for Max, which is now, it's the redirection that kind of confuses me. So the Cartoon Network's website is no more. As of Friday, the landing page of CartoonNetwork.com features a pop-up directing users to sign up for Max, Warner Brothers Discovery's flagship streaming service. Looking for episodes of your favorite Cartoon Network shows? Check out what's available to stream on Max, subscription required. The message reads in part, it also notes that cable subscribers can continue to watch via the linear channel and connected apps. So let's check this out. Let's go to Cartoon Network right now. CartoonNetwork.com. All right, so there's the pop-up. Stream Cartoon Network on Max, looking for episodes, blah, blah, blah. Stream now, questions. Now, if you, what is that? Shopping. If you close this out, you see, okay, so they do still have, I guess, landing pages for some of their bigger properties. So let's click on one of these, like regular show. What happens? So it does tell you here, stream now, go to Max. Yeah, it goes to max.com, stream now. And even the header here is a Max header. And then if you click on regular show, it does take you to the regular show section on Max. So yeah, it is completely donezo. There's no remnants of what the site was before. I don't remember what the site looked like before. I haven't been to it in like ages. So it's just, I have no point of reference when it comes to that stuff. So closing the pop-up message redirects users to the Cartoon Network channel on Max, again with prompts to sign up for the streamer. Cartoon Network appears to be the only site for WBD's cable channels affected as of publication time. Sites for TNT, TBS, the HGTV, Discovery, smaller outlets like American Heroes and Science Channel, and Cartoon Network's grown-up sibling Adult Swim were all active Friday morning. So that means that those sites have not been touched yet. So I wonder if they're going to be next to all roll under the Max website. Let's see. Let's go to Adult Swim. AdultSwim.com. Yeah, no, Adult Swim still seems to be maintaining their own site. I would think that this would, because there's such a strong brand out. I love the fact that they have a Max advertisement right at the top. But this is such a strong brand on its own. It would be kind of strange for them to have to close it out, because I would assume that, with the strong following that Adult Swim has, it would behoove them to actually get rid of a lot of this stuff. So yeah. So look, they even have game reviews on here. I didn't even know they did that. Dead Cells Return to Castlevania game review. Interesting. Yeah. Again, I've never been to this. I can't even remember the last time I've been to this site. But I wonder what kind of traffic a site like this still gets today. Because I feel like not a lot of people. I mean, there was a time when people used to love going to websites all the time, but nowadays not so much. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see numbers if ever possible. But there's a quote from WBD. We are focusing on the Cartoon Network shows and social media where we find consumers are the most engaged, and there's a meaningful potential for growth, a Cartoon Network rep said in a statement. While we have closed some digital products, fans can continue to interact with Cartoon Network via the Cartoon Network app, as well as select TV provider apps on platforms, including mobile and connected devices like Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon, and via social platforms, YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. Of course, fans can also continue to tune into the Cartoon Network channel to enjoy 11 hours of their favorite Cartoon Network series from 6 a.m. to 5 p.m. daily. The shuttering of the Cartoon Network site follows Warner Bros. Discovery taking a $9.1 billion impairment charge in its quarterly earnings related to its network division, which includes Cartoon Network and the other cable outlets. The company cited a soft ad market as part of the reason for the hit. Paramount made a similar move in June, gutting the sites for Comedy Central. That was huge. In my opinion, I thought that was pretty big when they did that. TV Land, another one that I think is pretty big. Again, big brand names for such bigger companies like that. TV Land and a few other of its cable channels. In both cases, cost cutting, is driving the changes. So a lot of interesting changes to cut costs and all that. I don't know. Is anyone going to be like really sad to see these websites go? Like I said, I don't know how many people go on websites, so what's going on, Lumi? Chiming in on the vertical stream. From the last time, remember, I'm Love Bug. I don't recall that username, but if you checked out my stream before, welcome back. Nice to see you back. I hope you had a great week, and I hope you're having a good day so far. So yeah, so interesting stuff with Cartoon Network, but again, I understand it on a business standpoint. Costs cutting is important, especially in this landscape that we're in right now. That seems to be the trend a lot with this week, with a lot of the news that came out this week. Cost cutting and price increases overall. And I'm going to be covering a lot of that stuff with the news today. Speaking of cutting stuff, and I think Netflix is doing this for cost specifically. Remember Zack Snyder's Army franchise? It was like, what was it? Army of the Dead and something of the Dead and Army of this and Army of that. That was like a big thing he was focusing on a lot before the whole Rebel Moon stuff came out. Well, it looks like we're done seeing any of that stuff from Zack Snyder. And I wonder if this is going to lead into a potential, maybe Rebel Moon stuff may eventually get cut back too. Because remember, he's so all in on Rebel Moon that he wanted to do a cartoon, he wanted to do several spin-offs, he wanted to do a video game, all this crazy stuff. He's so into that universe. So it's going to be really interesting to see what's going to happen, especially once they do this. So Netflix scraps Snyder's Army franchise plans. With Rebel Moon having come and gone, filmmaker Zack Snyder has expressed his desire to move on to something smaller scale for his next project. Wait a minute, smaller scale? What happened to his huge ambitious plans, like I just said, about Rebel Moon this and Rebel Moon that and Moon up your ass and whatever the case is? This guy is so crazy. The chances of him doing further films in the Rebel Moon franchise seem essentially none at this point. But what about those plans for more Army of the Dead he announced a few years back? That zombie action film was a success for a streamer, but its prequel spin-off Army of Thieves didn't seem to make much of a splash. I also remember that movie had so much troubles during filming and leading to the release of it. It just looked like that was such a shit show. It didn't seem to make much of a splash. Snyder had intended to do both new films and an animated series. Again, same thing he said about Rebel Moon. Now, the Wrap is reporting that they have confirmed that the animated series was quietly canceled, as were plans for subsequent films. Snyder acknowledges, "We are very ambitious with everything." Yeah, no shit. But either way, the only thing in the franchise's future for now seems to be a themed experience coming to Six Flags theme parks this Halloween. Wow. Okay, that's interesting. Both Army of the Dead and the Rebel Moon director's cuts are now up on Netflix. Yeah, speaking of which, I have not had a chance to check out any of those director's cuts. Have you? Let me know in the chat, in the comments, if you have seen and sat down and watched those new director's cuts of Rebel Moon that came out. I believe there are 2 parts, if I'm correct? But I haven't had a chance to see it yet, and I'm not sure if I really want to, at least anytime soon. But it just goes to show you that with his full ambition to do so much within these worlds that he's creating, things are just not working out for him. And I feel like Netflix is being as patient as possible when it comes with Zack Snyder. They're really trying so hard to work with him. But at the same time, what's going on? It seems like he's delivering almost on empty promises at this point. Like I said, I've never seen Army of the Dead. I've never seen Army of Thieves. I know there are people who actually liked Army of the Dead, not so much Army of Thieves. So it makes sense to me. And then he jumps from project to project so fast, right? He's no James Cameron. James Cameron will stick with something till he's blue in the face, no pun intended, with the Avatar series. But at least he's fully dedicated. With Zack Snyder, I feel like he has like very tough ADD or something like that. And he'll just jump from project to project. He said the same thing early last year, I think maybe 2 years ago too, about his ambitions for Rebel Moon. He wanted spin-offs, he wanted a video game, he wanted an animated show, he wanted a comic book, all this stuff. And now, what's going to happen? The reception for Rebel Moon, the original releases, were, I guess, kind of mediocre. His hardcore fans love the movie and will always simp for Zack Snyder. But when the director's cuts were coming out, I didn't hear much people talk about it at all. Those of us who watched and were disappointed with the Rebel Moon movies, parts 1 and 2, didn't even want to give any time to the director's cuts when they were coming out. I know eventually I do want to check it out just to see if it actually makes any kind of difference whatsoever. But I haven't heard anybody talking about these things at all whatsoever. So I don't know what's happening here. So could this mean that the whole Rebel Moon stuff is over? I don't know. Kind of looks like it to me, to be completely honest with all of you. So I would be very interested to hear your thoughts on it and let me know if you think or are expecting to see more Rebel Moon content after everything that's been put out there. I'm very curious and I'm curious if you're just looking forward to more Rebel Moon content. You know, maybe there are more people who are fans of this whole universe than I thought. So I would love to hear from either side, really, at this point. Also, as a quick reminder, please do me a huge favor. Hit that like button if you're watching here live on stream. It would definitely help out with the community. It gets this video spread around. Like I said, YouTube has been acting extremely weird lately, and people are not getting their notifications. People don't know when I'm streaming. People don't know when a new video's up, blah, 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 all this stuff. And the only way to help with that stuff is to kind of help me out and just hit the like button, you know, or react to the live stream. That would be awesome if you do that too. Would greatly appreciate it. And don't forget, and don't be shy. Say hi. Lumi said hi. Never heard from her again ever since, but they said hi. You could say hi too. Don't be shy. Don't be shy. I'm thirsty. I am thirsty today. Let me drink some water. All right, the next bit of news involves Disney. Right now, D23 is happening, and I wish I was there. I was supposed to go to D23 a couple of years ago, but because of financial problems, I couldn't afford to go anymore. And ever since then, I never had a chance to try to attempt to go back. But this year, it looks like they're going hardcore all in on a lot of their stuff at D23. I've been watching a lot of videos and pictures of people attending it. They have this amazing TVA walkthrough where you're walking through kind of like the TVA offices and lobby, and you have like these windows that are peering into like moments in the timeline and in the multiverse. You have like, I guess, Rocket talking to you, talking about some things. You get to see some of the costumes from Deadpool and Wolverine. They're going so all in on this stuff. There's some like promo stuff with Daredevil for the new show coming out, Born Again. So, and tonight is the mega, I guess, presentation showcase that they're doing over there, where they're going to be more than likely revealing new information, probably a couple of trailers for some of their upcoming projects. I heard Skeleton Crew may be getting finally a trailer coming out soon. I'm sure they're going to be talking about some other Star Wars related stuff, maybe some Marvel stuff. So I'll be really curious to hear what kind of news drops from that showcase presentation later on tonight. And anything that's worth talking about, I'm definitely going to be talking about on Monday's stream. But it was also their earnings call that happened this past week. And for the first time, it sounds like their streaming has got them back in black in a way and turned a profit. So I'm back here on the Hollywood Reporter. Disney turns a profit in streaming as entertainment income soars. The entertainment giant beat Wall Street expectations, but warned that its parks business will face challenges in coming quarters. The Walt Disney Company turned a profit in its streaming business a quarter earlier than anticipated and beat Wall Street expectations as its entertainment business soared in the company's fiscal Q3. Disney reported revenue of $23.2 billion, income of $3.1 billion, and earnings per share of $1.43, all beating Wall Street estimates. That was led by the entertainment division, which saw its profits soar thanks to improvements to direct-to-consumer and the success of Inside Out 2. Entertainment revenues were $10.6 billion, up 4% from last year, but income was $1.2 billion, up more than 100% from a year ago. So it sounds all good stuff for Disney. And I think the reason why they're saying that the Disney parks will be struggling for the next couple of years is because I believe they're planning a lot of renovations and additions to a lot of their parks. So they're going to be spending a lot of money on that. Let's see. It says here, Disney warns that the slowdown will likely continue over the next few quarters, with the Paris Olympics having a negative impact on Disneyland Paris attendance because everyone's spending their time and money on the Olympics. On the earnings call, CFO Hugh Johnston said they would characterize it as a bit of a slowdown that's being more than offset by the entertainment business, adding the lower income consumers were feeling a little bit of stress while higher income consumers were traveling more internationally. Johnson and said he expects international parks growth in particular to strengthen after the Olympics. Just so you know, in case none of this sounds interesting or it sounds kind of interesting or weird, Disney's profits are mainly their parks and their amusement parks and all that. That's how Disney makes the majority of their money. You would think that they make a lot of their money from movies and streaming and all their shows. That's not the case at all. It's their amusement parks that drive the majority of their revenue. So for this to kind of switch with their last earnings is very interesting and very different from what we've seen in the past. So, but also mind you that their revenue division, their entertainment division has been suffering a lot for the last couple of years, mainly because of pandemic and you know, the strikes and all this kind of stuff like that. Less people going to theaters, the hot mess that Disney Plus turned out to be with all the random shows that not a lot of people are enjoying. So there's definitely a reconfiguration happening right now and things will switch. But it's interesting to see that this has changed recently. What's going on, Arnold? Arnold chiming in, back on the vertical stream. Can't stay, have to get up early tomorrow. Oh, thank you so much, Arnold. You are the best. You are the best. You know why? Because you work so hard, and I know your schedule is challenging for you, but you still take the time out to say hi and all that. And I always totally appreciate that. So you are the best, my man. I hope you can get some rest, and I wish you a lot of luck for your work. And I hope you have a nice weekend as well, too. Hope to catch you again on another stream and to really, really catch up with you and see how you're doing and all that. If you're still here, quickly let me know how your week has been. I hope it's been a good one, and I hope work hasn't been too crazy for you. Because I know you're a hard worker, man, and I totally recognize that. So good on you for that. So yeah, so this is interesting news, but this also led, unfortunately, to now that they're seeing that things are kind of like working in their favor with their entertainment side of things. Arnold saying it was a good week. That's awesome to know, man. I'm really happy to hear that. So hopefully it transfers over to an awesome and a good weekend for you. Oops, as I hit my mic. I'm sorry. I apologize to all your precious ears out there. It's going to feel kind of weird, Arnold, before you go. Monday, we're not going to have any House of the Dragons to talk about. So that's going to feel kind of weird, right? I'm definitely going to feel a little bit of sadness that we're not going to have a chance to talk about anything dragon related, but we'll have other things to talk about as always. But again, I hope you're going to have a great time, a great weekend, and work won't be too crazy for you. You know, and again, highly and totally appreciate you always, even if you're so tired, just to say hi and stuff. So I really, really appreciate that. So yeah, so now that Disney is seeing success now with their streaming services, now's the time to pounce on the consumers, right? What perfect way to do so. Like, hey, look, we're making a profit now of streaming. All right, let's take advantage of this and let's see how much more we can squeeze out of our consumer base. So yeah, Arnold saying, yes, it will be very strange again in 2 years. Oh, what a wait. What a wait we have to go through. But Disney Plus, Hulu, and ESPN Plus are now planning price hikes. So the article says big changes are coming to Disney Plus later this year, with the company planning price hikes and the addition of what it is calling continuous playlist and live news on the platform. It sounds to me like they're kind of going the YouTube route in a way. On the pricing front, Disney Plus will see the monthly cost of its ad-supported tier rise by $2, going up to $9.99, while its ad-free tier will rise by $2 as well, going up to $15.99. Hulu's ad tier will also rise by $2, going to $9.99 per month, and its ad-free plan rising by $1, $18.99 per month. Notably, the price hikes appear designed to push consumers to the Disney Bundle, which will offer the ad tiers of Disney Plus and Hulu for $10.99 per month, which is up $1 from its previous price right now, only slightly more than one service or the other. Wow, that's crazy. That really is crazy. I can't believe that. That is just nuts. Arnold with the super chat. Thank you so much, man. You know, I always appreciate that. You're the best, man. You're the best. See you in 2 years. That's so funny. I'm gonna like that. I like the fact that you could like interact with these super chats now, which I think is pretty cool. I want to heart that too. There you go. I love that there's more interaction with super chats, so I think that's pretty cool. But thank you so much. Oh, there it is. Popping up on the screen there.
See you in 2 years, bro. Rolling on the floor, laughing, best man.
Look at that. Bet you didn't know I changed things up, that you could hear things, talking to you now. That is my female friend, the good old Geek Bot right there. So I'm happy to hear that's finally working. But thank you so much, man. I really appreciate the super chat. You're the best. You really are. You always make my day. So going back here, so prices are going up, right? The company is also raising prices at ESPN Plus, which will increase by $1 to $11.99 per month, and at Hulu with Live TV, which will rise by $6 per month to $82.99. That's pretty much the price of cable right now. But that also sounds almost in alignment with YouTube TV. So I'm pretty sure they're trying to see how they can compete with like these type of platforms, which includes the ad tiers of Hulu and Disney Plus, and $95.99 for the ad-free tiers. Jesus. All the price hikes will be effective October 17th. The company last raised prices a year ago. Yeah, it seems like this is going to be an ongoing thing, to be honest with you. They're all trying to compete with each other. And now that more and more people are ditching cable, it's just going to all end up to be cable prices all over again. But this time, all on streaming. So enjoy that. Enjoy that all. What's going on, Colonels? Hola to you. I hope you're doing well. Thank you for chiming in on the vertical stream. I hope you're having a good day. And I hope you had a great week. But yeah, prices are going up. To me, honestly, with all of this news on price increases and everything, it sounds more and more appealing. That bundle that you can get Max, Disney Plus, and Hulu all together. For me personally, that sounds like the perfect package. If you are looking to pay for any kind of streaming service, because for me, I watch Max a lot for movies and for the series, right? House of the Dragon just ended. I enjoyed that. They're going to have more shows coming out later this year that I'm looking forward to. And of course, the movies that they offer, right? Plus, if you're into like the Cartoon Network, you got that type of programming there, the Discovery programming, and also, there's something else. All the Warner Brothers stuff. It's crazy, right? Colonel saying it's so expensive, I still use a bootleg box, and these stupid streaming companies still have commercials. Yeah, that's a downside too. It's like you're still paying for a service that's serving you ads, right? And then if you want to get rid of the ads, it's asking you to pay more, So it's all confusing to a lot of people, and it's a lot of money, and it's nuts. It's really nuts. But I think at least the one that makes more sense to me, like I said, is the Max, Disney Plus, Hulu bundle. I don't even know if you could get that now. But for me, like I said, Max I use a lot. Disney Plus I use a lot because of the Marvel shows, the Star Wars shows. And Hulu because of movies and certain programming there too. You could watch The Bear there. I believe there was another series that I really enjoyed watching on there. I can't remember it at this time, but I'm trying to see. Okay, Max Disney Plus bundle. I don't even know if that's available yet. Let's see here. Yeah, here we go. Look at this. Look at this. Here you go. So sharing this here, they're calling it the Ultimate Bundle, where you can get Disney Plus, Hulu, and Max. So with ads, it's $16.99. No ads, it's $29.99, which I do think is pretty steep. But if you look at all the individual prices for Disney Plus, Hulu, Max, this for me sounds like a no-brainer, honestly. You know, this sounds like this is the best kind of bundle you can get. And then maybe outside of this, maybe you'll fork over a little bit more for Netflix or maybe even Peacock, right? Paramount for me doesn't have enough to offer that I would be wanting to, you know, sign up for that. Maybe for a month if like a series drops. Apple, I don't know. I was never big into a lot of Apple programming, even though they have some movies that are really worth watching. Peacock, mainly because I love Saturday Night Live and I love wrestling. All of a sudden, I'm back into wrestling. So I need my WWE. And the fact that you can get all the premium live events and Raw and all that, it's worth it for me, honestly. Marvel Cuphead, what's going on, Marvel Cuphead? Nice to see you back on the stream. It's been a minute since I've seen you. Hope you're doing well. I'm glad you enjoyed Borderlands. I, on the other hand, have a different thought about it, and I'll talk about it in a minute. Colonel saying The Bear is so good, just finished season 2. Life of a Chef is pretty intense. It really is. It really is. Everything is such an upsell. If you act now, well, I mean, that's marketing for you, right? That's just how it works. Spooky Prod, record. What's going on? Saying hi from France. What's up? Let's see. Bonjour. And je m'appelle René. Nice to meet you. I hope you're doing well. I hope the Olympics isn't causing too much of a headache for you, but I've been enjoying watching it from home. So hopefully you're enjoying it from where you are. But yeah, everything is a big marketing upsell and all that. But like I said, this is like the best bundle I would ever go for, honestly, in my opinion. And right now, I'm lucky that I still have Disney Plus for free. I don't know how I got grandfathered into some sort of plan, but I have it for free until like late 2025. So I'm not looking to change things up at all, but I do have to eventually get Max soon because the thing I'm sharing it with someone right now, and they're moving and they're canceling their account, so I need to kind of finally pay for that. And but yeah, it's all expensive. You know, pick and choose what works best for you. But it's a Wild West out there, really Wild West. So hopefully someone can figure it out. But this is just what we're going to have to deal with for now, you know, and that's just how it is. Spooky saying it's not too bad. So that's good. That's good to know. Marvel Cuphead Claptrap was one to carry the film, Jack Black. I will agree with that. I will say that the only few times I laughed was mainly because of Claptrap. You know, and I felt like some of his delivery on some of the jokes actually really worked for me. Colonel say, do you think Spectrum and DirecTV will go out of business? I think what will happen is that eventually they're going to merge with somebody else. You know, if you remember, Spectrum used to be Time Warner, right? And Time Warner, they had a merger with I believe it was AT&T and something like that. And it seemed like merger. It was kind of keeping them afloat, which eventually now led to Spectrum. And I forget who the parent company is now for Spectrum. There's always going to be some sort of bailout for these companies because they work very closely with a lot of the networks to stay afloat. So I do feel like there's going to be levels of bailouts from either merging or being bought by somebody, or teaming up with someone. I think DirecTV has a bigger struggle because the equipment wise, it's kind of tougher too, right? Maybe more in remote locations, it might be they might be able to survive. But I think DirecTV has definitely a bigger struggle over like a Spectrum or like maybe a FiOS, like a Verizon, their cable offerings and all that. But the only reason why a lot of these companies will still remain is because you do still have a lot of areas in the United States that they depend on cable still because their internet services are not that strong and not that fast. You know, neighborhoods for older generations that still rely on things that they're familiar with and they're accustomed to. These are people who still have landlines. I feel like services like Spectrum and DirecTV will still survive. For how much longer, I don't know. But I think that's just my opinion. But it's going to be really interesting to see what's going to happen 5-10 years from now. Colonel saying, too big to fail. Terrible for us. It's like going to the DMV. We have no other choice. Such a monopoly. That's so true. It's so true. It's so true. It's like, I love that I could still renew stuff online, but the minute I can't, when it comes to the DMV, I dread it. I dread having to have to go there in person. It's such a hot mess. Am I dead yet? What's going on? It's nice to see you back. Hello to you. Nice to see you. Hope you had a great week, and I hope you're having a good day so far. So really, really appreciate all of you guys chiming in, and I appreciate the conversation as always. So don't forget, make sure, hit that like button for the streams, depending on which stream that you're watching on and all that. Everyone here will be very happy that you do. And react too. Leave a comment. Transformers 1, am I excited for it or skipping? My excitement for that movie has been dwindling each time I see more and more footage from it, but I will still check it out because I'm very curious how it's going to turn out. I already come to the conclusion that I feel like it's not for me. It's definitely not my generation. It feels like it is geared towards a younger generation, which is perfectly fine. But I also felt the same way when the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles came out, the Mutant Mayhem, and I love that movie. I thought the movie was so well done. So I will give it a shot. I will watch it. But my excitement and anticipation has been dwindling with each trailer that comes out and each thing I've seen of it. What about you? Are you excited for it? Let me know. Colonel saying one of the employment requirements for the DMV is a bad attitude and acting like nothing matters while chewing gum and tapping your long nails. Well, that's also, I believe, the requirement for the United States Postal Service too. You know, and see how long you can carry a conversation with your fellow coworker while people are waiting in line. So I feel like those are main requirements for those two jobs. Let me not be too cruel because look, a job is a job. You know, people need work. They try their best, but sometimes you feel like, are they really though? But I don't blame them. I blame their bosses. That's just how I look at things. So there you go. But yeah, so since Marvel Cuphead has brought it up, let's talk about this Borderlands movie. Hold on. Let's see here. Let me just make sure I switch things around. All right. So, Borderlands. Let's talk about this. First of all, and I'm not going to give any spoilers just yet. I'm just going to briefly talk about the synopsis, who's involved in the movie, and my initial thoughts and review on the movie. And then I'll go into some spoiler stuff later on. But I feel like even if I do talk about spoiler stuff, if you've played the games, then you kind of already know what you're getting yourself into. And even if I do reveal something, if you still plan on watching this movie, I think you'll still be, you know, entertained and surprised to a certain extent, right? So Marvel Cuphead saying, yes, very excited to see how the movie explains how Megatron turns bad in Transformers 1. Yeah, that'll be interesting to see kind of like the origins of all that. I just personally don't like the whole trope of, hey, we were friends before and then something happens and now you're bad and I'm against you and we don't, you know, we've seen it happen so many times. You know, it's the same story like Magneto and Professor X, right? We've seen that happen before. Not so much like G.I. Joe, whatever, but there are other storylines where there's always like We are friends in the beginning. Oh, Fantastic Four, right? Reed Richards and Victor Von Doom, they were friends. They went to college together. Something happens. They have a falling out. Now Doom's the bad guy, and Reed is the good guy, right? So it's a little bit cliche at this point, but if they find a good way to explain it all, then you know what? I'll give it a shot. I'll keep an open mind, but I am a little tired of that trope. It's just been overused, you know. All right. First of all, before I go into talking about Borderlands, who here in the chat has actually played the video games? Let me know in the chat if you've actually played the video games, the Borderlands video games. Now, for me, I played the first two, so I'm a little familiar with the storyline and the lore and the characters involved. So, at least going into this, I was accustomed to what the game and the storyline is about and all that. So, will this help you enjoy the movie and your experience? Maybe, you know, but I'll say this. All right. So, obviously this plot here, or the movie, is about Lilith, right? The character of Lilith, played by Cate Blanchett. And Lilith is a major character in the video games. She shows up, from what I remember, and you eventually help her with a lot of missions and all those things like that. So what you have here is that you have a little girl, who is being not held captive, but at least just not home, right? Maybe she's a runaway. She was in prison at one point, but you have her father, who's like this big major corporate leader and all that, Atlas Corporation. He's like the president, the head honcho there. And he wants his daughter back, right? So he hires like these bounty hunters to try to get her. First attempt didn't seem to work out. So Lilith is like the next attempt for her trying to get this daughter back. And the daughter is played by Ariana Greenblatt, who plays the character of Tiny Tina in this movie. You are familiar with her because she played a young Gamora, I believe. And also, I believe, she was the one that played a young Ahsoka. Am I right in saying that? It's kind of weird because, and I know this is going to sound terrible, but I always confuse her with Daphne Keane. So if I'm incorrect, please correct me, because I always seem to confuse her with Daphne Keane. But I believe she did that. But she was also in that movie with Adam Driver, 65. I remember she was like the young girl that he was trying to protect and save. So it's kind of funny that she finds herself in two movies where the plot is centered around the rescuing and protecting of her as a character. Kind of bizarre how that happens, but you know, it is what it is. But so, you know, you have, and everything takes place eventually on this planet called Pandora. Again, if you're familiar with the video game, that's where all of this stuff happens. And you have your cast of characters that show up, right? And the whole adventure is Lilith, you know, coming across Tiny Tina and her kind of support crew, and realizing that maybe there's some nefarious stuff going on, and maybe the whole thing about her trying to bring the daughter back is kind of a ruse for something bigger. And they eventually find out that it is. So now it becomes from bringing the girl back to trying to protect her, all this kind of stuff, blah, blah, blah. Here we go. And of course, there's like a big reveal at the end of it where, you know, this whole thing about vaults on this planet, where it holds like these like special like things that will help you with like supplies or resources or whatever the case is. Like, you know, there's a supernatural element where maybe this girl is the key to like open up these vaults, but it turns out that maybe it's somebody else. And that's like a big reveal at the end of the movie. And I won't talk about that now, but that's basically the plot, like in a nutshell there, right? And if you're familiar with the game, obviously there's a lot of major references. If you have a keen eye and you're very detailed with things, this movie does a great job in maintaining a lot of details and references from the video games that you're familiar with. All the different corporate names and the logos and some of the weaponries that they show on screen. They don't really go into specific details like, oh, this is this gun and this is that gun and this is that shotgun and this is the personality on this thing. But they make small references, and you could notice how certain things act in the movie. And kind of like, if you're familiar with the game, you'll know a lot of this stuff. So overall, if you're a huge fan of the franchise, they do enough to ensure that every little detail and every reference that you're expecting is in this movie. The towns and cities that are on the planet you're very familiar with, characters like Lilith, and they got Gina Gershon playing Moxie. So of course Moxie is a major character in the game franchise, and you'll be familiar with her. And of course Claptrap, the joking little robot that you are very familiar with in the game. Jack Black, I think, does a brilliant job in voicing this character. So every little bit of those details you'll find, interesting, and at least you'll be like, oh, cool, they really paid attention to all that stuff in the game. Here's my problem. I felt like they paid too much attention to all of those details that Eli Roth himself forgot to actually write a story. And this is just my opinion, all right? But when you kind of peel away the layers of the game details, the little references and all that, what you're left with is a movie that is kind of lost the charm from the game franchise and is boring in a way. And I feel like it was very shallow. It's almost like a Zack Snyder type of movie. Now, I'm not going to compare it to Rebel Moon, but it definitely felt like that type of movie, in my opinion. A lot of the thing that made the video game franchise so fun was that, one, it was very gritty and violent, right? There was a lot of violent stuff, especially when you're doing your action scenes and you're shooting people and all those things. Two, it's the humor. The nice humor and the dialogue and kind of like the witty sarcasm that's spread all throughout the game franchise. And that made that franchise very entertaining and fun, right? Unfortunately, this movie doesn't have any of that. They try to incorporate those things. Like, they try to have their jokes. They try to have their witty sarcasms. But most of it falls flat. Like I mentioned to Marvel Cuphead before, the only times I laughed a little bit were certain delivery of lines from Jack Black as Claptrap. Some of the stuff that he does, especially like he kind of like when two people are having dialogue and he kind of chimes in just out of nowhere, just says one line, I found that stuff to be kind of funny. But other than that, nothing else worked for me at all. And it's kind of weird too, because one, Cate Blanchett is an amazing actress. I love her to death. I watch everything that she does, and I feel like she is one of the greatest actresses of today. And she was all in on this movie. She was totally in. She was not phoning it home. She was not, just here to collect a paycheck. Well, maybe she was, but we've seen her do roles like this, like in the MCU, right, as Hela. Obviously, Lord of the Rings as Galadriel. And she's that good of an actress where she could do nerdy type of geeky movies like that, franchise movies, and do very well done independent movies, kind of like Oscar baity movies and all those things. But she couldn't save this movie one bit. Like everything that she did the best she could with what she was given. Kevin Hart, I've been on the record in saying that I'm a little tired of Kevin Hart. I feel like he's overplayed. He was like in almost everything at one point. And everything he does, he always tries his hardest to steal the show. Like, he wants to be the guy that like has all the laughs and, has the spotlight. And in this movie, he didn't do that. He was a little bit subdued. I didn't feel like he was overbearing. And I actually liked his, appearances when he showed up in the movie. And I thought the chemistry that he had with Cate Blanchett and Ariana was decent. So I'm like, okay, at least that had it going for us. Jamie Lee Curtis felt like she was cast weirdly in this movie. I felt she had like no proper setting here. She felt miscast. Ariana Greenblatt definitely was more of the over the top, overbearing type of personality, but it wasn't so much so that I felt annoyed about it, right? And then Gina Gershon was just Gina Gershon. I felt like Eli Roth casted these actresses that he probably had the hots for growing up. And it's like, oh man, I love Jamie Lee Curtis. She was so hot in like Trading Places and in her earlier movies. I gotta put her in this movie. And of course she shows up And she has cleavage showing up and all that. Gina Gershon. Oh my God, I love Gina Gershon. You know, I love her in Bound and all that. So I need to put her in my movie, and I'm gonna give her like the skimpiest outfit possible so that you could see her boobs sticking out and all that. And of course, Cate Blanchett. Like, oh, I love Cate Blanchett. She's always been so hot. So I want to make her look so hot in this movie. So much so that there are times where you could see like there's some sort of filter on her face to make it very soft and all that. I felt they went way overboard in trying to make her look sexy and cute and pretty in this, even though she is already, right? So I felt like Eli Roth just wanted to like fan cast his best movie of all of these actresses that he had the hots for growing up. But like I said, the performances were decent for the most part, but it didn't help this movie at all. I just found myself being bored, and I was sitting in the theater like this most of the time, and I was just waiting. I'm just waiting to see like what's gonna happen. You know, like, am I gonna get a laugh out of this? Am I gonna get surprised by this? Is the action sequences, you know, thrilling and all that? And most of the time, it's like action, 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 and then cut next, and then all of a sudden they're just walking down a hall. Like there's no transition whatsoever. And I think it also hurt that he kept it very PG-13. Rarely saw blood, rarely saw people's head explodes, right? But you saw a lot of that in the video games. So what was Eli Roth trying to do here? It feels like he was trying to make a family-friendly video game adaptation, kind of like the adaptations we got before. And guess what? It sucks just like they did before. Sorry, I hate to say it. You know, when you have movies like the Super Mario Brothers movie doing so well, series like The Last of Us and Fallout proving to us that video game adaptations can work, this just pushed things way back. It took several steps back, in my opinion. And again, my opinion, I just thought it was very poorly done. And I was left baffled and just like, how could this movie be put out there like that? And I remember he was saying in press recently that go watch this movie and turn your brains off. Try not to, you know, think too much about the movie and just enjoy it for what it is. Well, I tried to turn my brain off, and honestly, I couldn't turn my brain off even more to enjoy this movie. Yeah. And again, that's just my opinion. You know, I'm glad that Marvel Cuphead was able to enjoy it. You know, I'm really glad to hear that. And maybe other people will enjoy it too. But for me, it just didn't work. It just didn't work one bit. I gave it a 2 out of 5 stars in Letterboxd. 2 out of 5. I don't think I'll ever go back to revisiting this. If anything, I remember the days of when Uwe Boll used to do all those video game adaptations. I'm not going to say it's as bad as that, but it's just barely several steps above those movies. Barely. And yeah, it's just unfortunate because you had such a stacked cast. You know, maybe it's also too late for a movie like this. Like, this movie probably would have worked better if it was like 10 years ago. But the franchise itself has been so out of people's minds for so many years now. Like, who's interested in seeing this movie? And I'm just curious. All right, I'm sorry if I missed out on the chat. I'm going to address the chats now. I'm going to the vertical chat here. Do you think he made it long or storyless purposely, maybe for a part 2? I just think Eli Roth tried his best to do a very direct adaptation of this movie, that he wanted to focus so much on capturing the little details. You know, like I said, it feels like you're on Pandora. It feels like you're in the video game. The vehicles are featured, all the like the psychos and all those kinds of people are in this. The towns are in this, the weaponry, all that stuff. Every little detail is in there. And he just forgot the story. I think he just lacked in story. And then here's the kicker. When I saw who helped produce this movie, it made perfect sense to me. Avi Arad. And if you're familiar with Avi Arad and the movies that he produced in the past, oh boy. And if I knew that going into this, I would have been like, oh no, we're ready for another Avi Arad hot mess of a movie. And it looks like he teamed up with his brother on this one too. And I was just like, holy cow, I feel like I'm back in the 90s again with a lot of those like really crappy video game adaptation movies and a lot of those like, really crappy superhero movies that Avi Arad was a part of. Oh, it was just so disappointing. So disappointing. And honestly, with the small crowd that was watching the movie, the audience that was there, everyone was leaving without saying a word. Like nothing whatsoever. So I don't know. Like I said, for those of you who enjoyed this movie, I'm happy for you. I'm glad you could enjoy it. Just it didn't work for me. It just didn't. Am I dead? I'm sorry I missed your chat. I like the Terrifier movies? I haven't had a chance to see any of them, honestly. I know the third one is coming out this year, but I haven't had a chance to see any of them. Would you recommend those movies to me? Let me know. Let me know. Again, I'm slowly getting myself back into the horror movie genre. Obviously, like a movie like Cuckoo. Normally, I would not have gone and seen that movie, but I was like, you know what? I actually want to see this movie. I want to see how good this movie is, if it is good at all. So I'm giving myself more chances to watch horror movies. But like movies like The Exorcist and movies that have such deep lore, like The Conjuring stuff, Insidious, I've missed so many of those that it's hard for me to kind of go into those movies now. But let me know if you think Terrifier is worth checking out. And then maybe I'll give it a chance when I have a chance. So yeah. So now that I think about it, and now that I kind of went through my review of Borderlands, there's really no need for me to go into any kind of spoiler talk at all, unless you guys are interested in hearing something about the movie and how the movie ends and all that. Like I said, if you're familiar with the character of Lilith from the video game, you know exactly what happens. Right, so there's that big reveal at the end of this movie that happens there, and even that, Cate Blanchett, you got to give her a lot of credit for this movie because she is like full on, at one point CG, doing her like goddess thing and all that stuff like that, and you could tell she's just all in on it, and yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. It's amazing. Again, it just tells you the kind of actress that she is. So, but yeah, again, those are just, also I have to say, I'm a huge fan of Janina Gavankar. If you don't know who she is, she does a lot of voice acting, especially in Star Wars and all that. She came across so hokey in this movie. It's like very cheesy. And for someone as big as Gina Gershon, she was on screen maybe maximum 5 minutes. And it's just like, wow, what a waste. Underutilized. Yeah, again, I think Eli is just like, oh my God, I had such the hots on her. I had such the hots for her back in the day. I need her in my movie, and I need to have her wear lingerie. And well, hey, look, for her age, she looks fantastic. She looks great. So, my dad's saying, I've only seen the first one, All Hallows Eve. Didn't think that much of it, but I've heard they get better. Interesting. I don't know. Maybe I'll give it a shot. I'm not sure. Not sure. Give me 1 second. That's weird. Sorry, I'm just checking some interesting notifications on my phone. That's so weird. Why am I getting that notification now? Sorry, y'all. Oh, look at that. One of the updates, speaking of Borderlands, Borderlands 3 gets its second update of 2024 and an excellent quality of life feature. So look at that. They're still... So for those of you who are playing the Borderlands games, you get something... You're still getting stuff. So, go figure. Go figure. Am I dead? What are some of the recent movies you've been watching? If any, let me know. Or are you like big into the horror genre? If you have any recommendations, let me know. Because that's eventually going to lead into the next movie that I'll be talking about in a minute, and that is Cuckoo. Cuckoo, cuckoo, cuckoo. So yeah, so that's Borderlands for you. I will say though, Because of this movie and because of this fine actress right here behind me, expect Halloween. You're going to see a lot of cosplay of Lilith this Halloween. You're going to see Lilith cosplay. I'm pretty sure you'll see some Moxie stuff happening because, like I said, Gina Gershon looked really good in this movie for the 5 minutes that she was in it. You're going to see a lot of cosplay. I won't be surprised. Won't be surprised. The next movie I'm going to be talking about, you're going to see a lot of Cuckoo cosplay for sure, I'm sure. For sure, I'm sure, for sure, for sure, for sure. Oh. Sorry, I'm just looking at this cast list. You know what this movie, what Borderlands also suffered from? It also suffered from a very bad villain. It reminded me a lot of Madam Web. The villain was just very hokey and cheesy and had such a thick accent. At least they didn't do any ADR with this guy, unlike Madam Web. But they did so much ADR. Okay, I think I was incorrect saying that Ariana... Wait, yeah, Ariana Greenblatt did play the young Gamora. I was right about that. She was also in Barbie. She's having such an amazing career for herself. I'm very happy for her. Like I said, she's a pretty good actress. You know, like I said, everyone, for the most part, did decent to good in this film. But none of that could help this movie move forward. Oh, well. It is what it is. Sometimes that happens. Marvel Cuphead, if you're still watching here on the live stream, let me know what was the thing that you loved most about the movie. About Borderlands. Outside of Claptrap. I know you said Claptrap helped carry the film. And I would say, like, I definitely can see that. I definitely agree with that. But I wonder if there was anything else that kind of stood out to you that made you enjoy the movie overall. Let me know. All right, I am going to quickly just check some other things. I'm just very curious about this one YouTube notification I got. Give me 1 second, guys. Feel free to ask any questions or make any comments. Yeah, it's so weird. Why would they? Just so you all know, the reason why I'm baffled is because I already have channel memberships activated on my account, and they're just telling me like, hey, guess what? You can activate channel memberships. I'm like, wait a minute, but it's already active. As a matter of fact, I already have some members. So what are you talking about? What are you talking about? What's happening? What's happening? Okay. Sorry, just give me one. I'll be back with you guys in a minute. And my dad saying I like a lot of horror movies I've recently watched. Saltburn. Ooh. That was like my number 2 favorite movie of last year. Banshees of Inisherin, great movie. All Hallows Eve. That's the one you mentioned before. Mr. Lonely. What's Mr. Lonely? And I'm looking forward to the Salem's Lot remake. Yeah, that's another one I'm kind of curious about, especially since this is the first time we were actually getting a newer version of that Stephen King storyline. So I'm wondering how good it's going to be. I'm very curious about that. Yeah, but what did you think of like Saltburn? Let me know your thoughts on Saltburn, Banshees. I don't know what Mr. Lonely is. Let me know what that is. Like I said, Saltburn was my number 2 favorite movie of last year. My number 1 favorite movie last year was Poor Things. Sorry, give me one. I promise I'm almost done. Sorry, everyone. Sometimes, I'm just very curious, like, what happens around the world when I'm doing these things. So I just always want to make sure that the world's not burning around me while I'm streaming here on live in front of all you guys. Am I dead? Have you had a chance to see um last Late Night with the Devil, or what was it? In a Violent Nature? Oh, Mr. Lonely is a Harmony Korine film. Oh man, speaking of Harmony Korine, Jesus, have you seen Aggro Drift yet? Oh my gosh. At this point, I feel like Harmony just loves trolling us. I think he loves trolling people with his movies. It's just, oh my god. Hold on. But yeah, I saw Aggro Drift as part of New York Film Festival last year. Now, I was not familiar at all with Harmony Korine, but I was very curious. This movie sounded interesting. I went in to watch Aggro Drift, and oh my god, I was just so baffled as to what I was watching. It's like this relentless drabble of a narrative going on where you just saw the whole movie just looks like x-rays and infrared, and it's supposed to, you're supposed to be following this hitman or a bounty hunter, and he has a girl that he likes that all she does is twerk every time she's on the screen. And then Travis Scott's in this movie for no reason. They're on a boat, everyone has guns, they're going somewhere, but nothing really major happens. And it is just beyond bizarre. And I left the screening just baffled. I was just like, what the fuck did I just see? I was just like, and I said to somebody that was there with me watching, I was like, I think we were just trolled. I think this movie is a major troll. And then I read up more about Harmony Korine, and I could see that his movies are very out there and all. So I never had a time to sit down and watch his other stuff. I don't know if I want to, but I don't know. Maybe I will. Maybe it'll be like an interesting Harmony Korine movie festival that I create on the channel one day, just to go through all that stuff. Am I just saying Saltburn was good, but some scenes were a little bit too much? Yeah, they were. But I think that's one of the reasons why I like the movie so much. Have not seen the two movies. I definitely recommend Late Night with the Devil, since you like horror movies, and In a Violent Nature. You may not like In a Violent Nature, but I don't know. I like it. There's a certain charm to that movie that I really appreciate. Not heard of Aggro Drift, seen Gun Mode, Julian Donkey Boy, Kids, Spring Breakers, and Mr. Lonely. Yeah, so I totally forgot that he was responsible for the movie Kids. Kids was a movie I saw at an appropriate age. I was senior in high school, I think, when that movie came out, and I remember watching it with my friends, and I was just shocked. I was like, "Oh my god. Like, this is so raw and so real." I've seen stuff like this happen as I'm watching it play through in the movie. And they go like even beyond stuff, right? It's also crazy to think that was, who was that? That was Rosario Dawson. That was one of her first roles movie-wise in that film, right? Rosario Dawson's in that. Is that Lily Sobieski? Is that the other girl in it? I forgot who. Let me just look it up. What's going on, Jester? Jester has returned. How you doing? I hope you're having a good day. I hope you had a good week. I just finished giving my review on Borderlands movie, and now we're talking about Harmony Korine and his movies. Just because Am I Dead was able to watch something recently directed by him. So let's see. What am I looking up? Kids. Yeah. Not kids movies, kids movie. There we go. Oh, Chloe Sevigny. Yeah, it's not Lily Sobieski, but yeah, Rosario Dawson, Chloe Sevigny. That was like their earliest films. But that movie was just so raw and gritty. Like no holds barred, which is amazing. So, and I like that movie. I really like that movie. And I totally was not aware, or I totally forgot that he was part of that. That he did that movie. So that's why I was also baffled. I was like, well, he was able to do a movie like Kids, and what the hell happened with Aggro Drift? You know, but he wrote Kids, right? Harmony Korine. Let's see. He didn't direct it. Yeah, written by Harmony. Harmony must be like an interesting dude to like sit down and talk to. Yeah, he must be like some interesting dude. Jester saying, I'm doing amazing. That's good to know. That's always good to know, Jester. Jester, also let me know because you are watching on the verticals, not on the vertical, on the horizontal stream. I'm getting a lot of notifications about ads. Let me know if you're being inundated with ads right now. And if you are, just let me know so I can like shut them off because obviously that's not my intention. Because I haven't changed any of the settings. And it's weird that I keep getting these notifications pop up. And I'm getting kind of worried. The guy who played Roach is in Next Friday is in it too. Oh, is he? It's been a long time since I've seen this movie. I'm just looking up the cast list right now. Unbelievable. It's funny how it, it's it's very interesting to see how he was able to corral a lot of these young up and coming actors. That's right, John Abrams was in it too. It's so amazing. And it's amazing to see how their careers turned out. Yeah, Justin Pierce. He's the guy that played Roach in Next Friday. Man, what a movie, kids. Yeah, I would say like there's so many of these like coming of age movies, depending on like what era you grew up in. You know, me growing up, I watched a lot of movies like The Breakfast Club, Pretty in Pink. You know, like those are like Stand By Me. Those are like some of the coming of age movies I'm familiar with. The Sandlot. Kids, I would say, is one of those, especially for kids growing up in the 90s. That's definitely like a coming of age story, even though it's a definitely more darker, mature, and serious coming of age story. If you love coming of age movies, definitely check out Dee Dee when you have a chance. Dee Dee is like probably top 5 movies for me of the year. So I highly recommend it. What's going on, Master Force from Germany? I get a lot of Germany people, which is so interesting. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're having a good evening where you are at. I'm getting ready soon to talk about the movie Cuckoo. that I've been interested in giving my thoughts and reviews on. So let me know if you plan on watching either Borderlands or Cuckoo, or if you've seen them already. Let me know what you think of them. Would love to hear your thoughts on all that. Keep going. I'm going. I'm definitely going. It's a slower day than usual today. Usually I have a lot more people here. I guess it's a Friday. Are more people watching the Olympics? Is that what's happening? Or are I know what it is. There's a good amount of people who probably are not interested in Borderlands or Cuckoo, which is fine. You know. But if you have any movie related topic you'd love to talk about, let me know in the chat and I'll be more than happy to talk about it. Like I'm having a great conversation with MI right now about a lot of the movies he saw recently. He or she, I'm not sure exactly. I'm sorry if I didn't want to assume. Just waiting for the chat to show up. I think YouTube is having a weird thing right now. I feel like I remember one time I was streaming and people couldn't even chat at one point. But I keep seeing pop-ups of ads and I'm getting concerned that you guys are getting like drowned in advertising, and I obviously don't want that to happen to you guys. YouTube's messing up. I don't know what they're doing. They're being silly. Bunch of silly fools they are. All right. Let's talk about this movie. Before I do, Jester has a question. Have you seen The Fablemans? I have. I guess the sort of biography of Steven Spielberg, right? I thought it was a very sweet movie. It definitely felt like old school Spielberg in a way. But I did feel, what was my criticism of it? There was something about the movie that I felt it was kind of a little bit lacking. I think it was more along the lines of the whole mother-son relationship, I felt was a little bit strange, even though it's kind of based on real life. And I feel like her acting was a little bit over the top, was a little bit too dramatic acting, a little like I'm the thespian and this is what I'm going for and all that. So I think things like that kind of threw me off a bit, a little bit. So, but I thought it was a sweet movie. You love Paul Dano. Oh, Paul Dano is such a great actor, you know. Michelle Williams, that's the one who played the mom. I thought her acting was a little bit too much, you know, a little bit too overboard. Right? And maybe the mom is like that, for all I know. So, you know, I thought the guy that they had to play the young Spielberg was actually pretty good, pretty decent. But Paul Dano is great, and I mean, he does so many things that is so good. I loved him in The Batman. I loved him in that money about the GameStop stocks. What was it called? Was it Big Money or something like that? I thought he was so good in that. Paul Dano is just a great actor, kind of underrated in my opinion. Am I saying I'm a man? Okay, thanks for the clarification. I don't ever want to assume anything, you know, and if I assume, I apologize, you know. I never want to assume anything. So I appreciate the clarification. All right, who's ready to hear about Cuckoo? Does anyone know what Cuckoo is? And it's not Cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Although I will say, watching this movie, at times I felt like I was going cuckoo. All right, so this is a new movie that came out also this week. Director is Tillman Singer, who I'm not familiar with at all. I think this is like probably one of his big first movies. It stars Hunter Schafer. This is her first movie, I believe. I think she's done something before. She apparently has a credit in the last Hunger Games movie, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. I couldn't picture her at all in my mind. So, maybe if I go back and see it, maybe I'll be able to pinpoint who she is. It also stars Dan Stevens, Jessica Henwick, just to name a few. And I'll just say this off the bat. The reason why I felt like I was going cuckoo and losing my mind is because I have no idea what the hell this movie was about. There was so many things that happened in this movie, and they really hit you with a lot of like assault on the senses, whether it's audio or visual. There's just so much happening. And Hunter Schafer plays this character Gretchen, who basically goes through hell all throughout the movie. There's nothing that goes right for her. She's in a bad situation. She doesn't seem to like being with her dad. Her mom passed away. Yeah, and these are things that they already covered in the trailer, so I'm not spoiling anything. But then she gets injured here, hurt there, smacked around here. She goes through living hell all throughout the whole movie, and I feel bad for her. But yet everything that she suffers for, all the events she's suffering for, I have no idea why. I really don't. There's some sort of reference about how the cuckoo birds act in real life, and that's the reason why it's called Cuckoo, and not because you're losing your mind, but maybe it's also because of that, because I felt like I was losing my mind watching this movie, But there's something intriguing about it that I couldn't feel or determine whether or not I liked it or not. That's why on Letterboxd I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars, because one, Hunter Schafer's acting was amazing in it. Like I said, for someone who went through so much in this film, she did a really great job. Dan Stevens, who we already know can do like creepy and horror, just does his best creepiness in this. And I thought he was really brilliant in it. Unfortunately, Jessica Henwick was underutilized big time. I felt like it was kind of a waste to have her even in this movie. And I know how capable she is as an actress, but I thought complete waste of time to have her in it. But there's just so many things that happen here. It was just driving me crazy, and I want to kind of like talk it through to see if I can kind of understand exactly what's happening. So in order for me to do so, obviously I have to spoil some stuff. So if you don't want to hear anything spoiler wise, I warn you now, I'm going to be talking about stuff. All right. And then we'll see what happens afterwards as I keep going, because I need to talk things out, because I actually have no clue as to what this movie was really happening. I think I have an idea, but I need to talk it through. But before I do, Jester saying the kid who played Steven Spielberg is also playing Lorne Michaels. Oh, no way. Is that right? I haven't seen that trailer yet, but that's the same kid? Oh, that's amazing. I thought he was really good in Fabelmans. Oh, yes. And the movie is called Dumb Money. Paul Dano was in it. Yeah, I love that. Oh, what's going on? Oh, Geek Ledger is now known, or forever will be known as your Cosmere pal? Well, you tell me how you want me to address you, but I'm always happy to see you here chiming in on the vertical stream. I thought Borderlands was okay, not as good as the games, but definitely not a 0% on Rotten Tomatoes bad. Ignore my name. My little brother got on my account. Got it. Well, thanks for letting me know, because I recognized the profile pic. I'm like, wait a minute, it's Geek Ledger. Wait, what? Here's my thoughts. So I already gave my review on Borderlands. The reason why I'm pretty sure Rotten Tomatoes was a 0% was because the way that their rating system works is that anyone who gives a rating of under 3 is considered rotten, right? So I'm pretty sure a lot of people like me gave the movie probably 2 stars or whatever, and that automatically makes it a rotten score, right? So if all the people who saw the screenings in advance and all the critics and saw it, the press saw it, and they all gave the movie like 2 stars like at 2 stars and below, even 2.5, I believe, it automatically made it rotten on Rotten Tomatoes. It's when you give it a 3 that they consider it to be fresh. That's why their rating system is really weird and all over the place. So I gave it a 2 out of 5 stars on Letterboxd. And I think because of that, I probably would have contributed to a 0% rotten score on Rotten Tomatoes. But I don't think it's a 0. It's not. Because this lady right here, she tries her best in that movie. She really does. It's just unfortunate that she couldn't save this movie. And like I said, I think too much attention was paid to try to get a lot of the details of the games on screen, that the story itself suffered because of it. That's just my quick thoughts on that. It's just unfortunate because also with all the video game adaptations we've gotten, Mario Brothers movie, Fallout, Last of Us, they all prove that adaptations can work. This unfortunately reminds us of when it doesn't work, and it kind of brings you back and takes the genre a couple steps back, in my opinion. Geek Ledger saying, my little brother is a big Cosmere fan, the fantasy books by Brandon Sanderson. Oh, I'm not familiar with those books. I'm going to look it up real quick. Cosmere. Let's see. Cosmere books. I'm not familiar with this story at all. Well, that's really interesting. Well, there you go. Cosmere Pal. Who's your pal? Cosmere Pal. Geek Ledger is your pal today. Cosmere Pal, he's your pal. Cosmere Pal, Geek Ledger. Were you able to at least tell your brother that he needs his own account? Yeah, but like I said before, very good to see you on the stream here as always. All right, Cuckoo. So again, spoiler stuff. If you're not interested in spoilers, I apologize in advance. But I need this moment to talk the movie out because I need to kind of try to understand what's happening here. So here's the premise. Hunter Schafer's character, Gretchen, has to now live with her dad. Her dad has a new wife, and they are responsible for building resorts. Kind of like they're like resort builders and all that. So they teamed up with Dan Stevens' character, who already owns a resort in Germany, in the mountains in Germany, in the Alps of Germany, right? And the reason why she has to live with them now is because her mom passed away. So, she has to now live with her dad. The reason for her passing was not known in the beginning of the movie. We get to find out probably later on as to what may have happened here. The couple has another daughter, a younger daughter, who cannot speak. She is mute for some reason. So she communicates through like sign language and what have you and all that stuff, right? So they go into this town and immediately you feel like something's off. A lot of people are acting strange. A lot of people are kind of cold, but not really. Dan Stevens in particular is like very cold and kind of like, okay, you don't know what he's up to, but it feels like he's up to something, right? So we're basically following Hunter Schafer's character through her adventure and journeys and experiences through all this stuff, right? As the movie continues, you're finding out that there's some weird supernatural thing happening around them, where there are these weird noises that happen from the forest that affect people in certain ways. For example, her stepsister, who cannot talk, gets affected in a way that when she hears these noises, she starts having epileptic seizures, right? And it causes like some weird reactions where maybe it turns into violence. And when I say that, that just basically means that if you're close to her and she just gets startled or she sees you, she may swipe in you or push or punch you in the face by accident, which happens to Hunter Schafer in this. It's summer. Hunter Schafer has nothing to do, right? So she's offered a job at the front desk, where she notices that random customers are coming in and throwing up all over the place. Weird, right? And this happens one evening where someone lady walks in and she's like vomiting everywhere, but she's acting like a zombie, right? Not acknowledging anyone and just throwing up and then kind of like walking like a zombie elsewhere. So something's amiss for sure. We definitely find out something's happening when Hunter is riding her bike home one night, and all of a sudden she's being chased by this lady with a pair of sunglasses and a hood on. And this lady is just like crazy 28 days later speed, right? And she has like this weird sound coming out of her mouth, like, kind of like weird thing, right? Hunter, it never affects Hunter because she has headphones on. Every time something like this happens, she always has headphones on. So she's not like fully affected by whatever this thing is. Then there's this like private detective that's staying at the resort, and he's like, I'm investigating this weirdness and all this stuff like that, and I want you to help me because you experienced there, blah, 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 and all. And she's like, I don't know, man, you know, you're kind of weird. Like, I don't know if I could trust you and all this kind of stuff like that. And after that experience, she's like, I'm out of here. I can't deal with this stuff anymore, right? She met someone from France who checked in. They seem to have like some sort of like a connection happening, maybe a potential romance, right? You know, she's like, you like music? Yeah, I like music. You should come to France, you know, and blah, blah, blah. And it's established that Hunter can play the bass guitar, and, you know, she's learning how to play bass and all that stuff. So there is a romance in it because they go out for a cigarette and they're making out like crazy. And like, all right, I want to go with you to France. You're checking out. I'm going to go with you and all that. So she plans to escape, right? So she books it with this girl. They're driving. All of a sudden, the same lady shows up in the middle of the series, in the middle of the road. And, you know, they try to avoid it. She's like, look out! Major car accident. So let's recap now. Hunter was punched in the face by her stepsister, now is involved in a major accident, right? Where she is banged up and bruised. Prior to that, when she was getting chased by the old lady on her bike, she also banged her head against the glass of the hospital that she was running to seek asylum or to get away from this crazy lady, right? So she has a banged up head, a bruised up face. Now she was in a car accident, broken arm, more bruises everywhere. She is definitely not having a great vacation, to say the least. Now she's being gaslit, where everyone is saying that whatever she's seeing or whatever she's experiencing is not really happening, and these are figments of her imagination. You're imagining this. You're making up stories to kind of have us feel sorry for you. Yada, 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 all this stuff. This girl cannot win whatsoever. Right? Let me get to the chats before I continue. I don't want to feel like I'm ignoring you. Ados, what's going on, Ados? Buena notte, if I remember correctly, if I'm saying it correctly. I hope you're doing well. I hope you had a good week so far, and I hope you're having a good evening. Geek Ledger, I'll never forget your name. It's a shared universe of books. There are two main book stories: Mistborn, which is a fantasy heist genre. And then there's Stormlight Archive, which is big high fantasy series in the universe. Occasionally, you have the characters crossover from different worlds. There are a bunch of different magic systems, and it takes place over 1,000 years. Wow, that sounds really fascinating. Series is so successful that the author has started crowdfunding his books and projects, and they regularly crack $2 to $3 million in money raised. His most recent project just hit $6 million in 3 days. Wow, that's insane. Now, here's my question. Why hasn't Hollywood tapped in on this yet? Or is there still potential for that to still happen? Because for something that successful to be going on, I beg the question, why hasn't Hollywood tried to, you know, take advantage of the rabid fan base of that? Because that sounds amazing that it has so many fans to help support that series. That's awesome. Really, really awesome. Thank you for letting me know about all that, because I had no idea. about Cosmere. So that's really fascinating. All right. So going back. So again, Hunter Schafer, her character is just confused as to what's happening. But there's definitely something happening here. And you could tell that Dan Stevens is involved in it too. Because he's trying to convince Hunter that she's imagining things and nothing's really happening, but he wants to help her. He wants to help the family because he needs the family to help build these resorts or the extension of the resorts and all that, because the resorts is also surrounding a nature preserve, and that's also something that they're working on in preserving nature around them. It's just so bizarre, right? So what I'm gathering here is that there are ancient creatures living in the preserve that he's trying to maintain and take care of at the expense of the people who stay at the resort. And we later find out that there are experiments happening on women in this resort area. And the women are being trained to be mothers for future siblings or future creatures. Is this what's happening here? This is what I'm gathering from all this. And the reason why I'm saying this is because Dan Stevens has this conversation with Hunter at one point where he's like, do you know? Oh no, it's not Dan. Maybe it's the private detective. The private detective is who's like so hell bent on figuring out what's happening here, because it turns out that his own wife was captured by or affected by these people, right? And he says, do you know the story about the cuckoo bird? And of course she's like, no, what the hell are you talking about? It's like the cuckoo bird lays eggs in other birds or other species' nests. And she lets them raise these birds, these babies, when they grow up. And then later on, the mother shows up to reclaim them. I guess that's how cuckoo birds act in real life, right? I'm not familiar with these birds, with this species. So I'm taking the word of what the movie is telling me at the moment. I haven't done research yet. I'm trying to put all of this stuff together. So what's happening here is that apparently there's like a mother figure, right? The lady with the glasses and the hood. And because of her sonic voice, it affects the women that it kind of paralyzes them in a way. And it makes them prepare themselves to get fertilized. While the men, they get completely paralyzed and they feel like they're going through repeat moments in time within a matter of minutes of what's happening. I think this is how I'm picturing it. This is how I'm kind of recollecting everything. So what's supposed to happen, because they're trying to breed future moms to keep this species going, is that the mother figure will go to the woman, and you see this happening. She digs into herself. Watch out now.
I'm gonna come.
Gets her juices, and I guess she's going to use this to fertilize the lady so that they can get pregnant and they can give birth to future moms, because then she eventually will become a mom herself. I think this is what's happening. So the reason why we kind of know all of this is also because of the fact that they tried doing that to Hunter herself with this one girl who was trained to be a mother, shows up because Dan Stevens captures her and throws her into this tank with a bed in it, ready to get herself prepared for insemination, I guess. And everyone is in on this. Everyone, including the father, from what it seems like. Jessica Henwick, who is like so concerned as to what's happening with her own daughter, the little the little daughter, they end up drugging her and knocking her out. I don't know what they did with her eventually, but she is like knocked out somewhere, right? So this girl comes in. She tries to inseminate or impregnate or do something to Hunter Schafer, only to get interrupted by the private detective. Shoots Dan Stevens, shoots the girl, rescues Hunter Schafer, right? And then they're trying to figure out, okay, where's the main base? Because Hunter is also concerned there's something up with my stepsister. They're doing something to her. And they were right. They brought her into the research facility. You know, they put all of these like tests on her, and they're keeping her sedated because now they want to, she's the next victim, right? It's so convoluted. There's so much stuff happening. No one seems to die either. Everyone seems to come back and survive. You know, Dan Stevens survives being shot. Another person survived being stabbed and mortally wounded. And there's weird dialogue happening as people are trying to escape. What's made apparent is that they need this little girl. Because this little girl has something in her because she was birthed from, I guess, one of these women. And the father knows it. And the father is keeping it secret. So she is a product of what they're trying to accomplish here. So she has like extra perception and extra powers within her. That's why they're trying so hard to protect her right now. And all Hunter wants to do is get her out of there, right? So all of a sudden you have a major shootout between Dan Stevens and his detective. And, you know, you have this lady with the glasses and the hood still hunting them down. But the minute Hunter like poses a threat to the little girl, the lady steps back and stops because, again, they know this is an important being. And there's just a lot of like cat and mouse going on at this point. And the way it all ends is one Hunter is able to take out the lady with the glasses. There's like a hunt thing. It feels very much like almost like Jurassic Park in the kitchen scene where Hunter's like hiding in this like library or whatever. And like you have this, she's like the velociraptor trying to like hunt her down and everything, right? So she's like really trying to escape her. And she finds like a Walkman. So she's trying to like plug her ears in so she's not hearing like the sonic vibrations that this being's voice has to like incapacitate people. And she does this thing where, you know, she's able to kind of withstand whatever this lady is doing, and then she stabs her in the throat. Great place to do it because that means it prevents her from, you know, doing the scream. All right, now it's time to save my sister. So she's trying to save the sister, but then there's a major shootout happening. The sister doesn't trust Hunter because she saw Hunter was like threatening to kill her, but she didn't realize it was because she was trying to kill her because the lady would stop when she did that. And then she's trying to apologize. She's like, I'm sorry, you know, blah, blah, blah. She's coming to terms with her own mom being dead. And she's like, you know, my mom knows you and says hi to you and she wishes she could see you, but she can't, you know, and that's okay. Sorry. Trust me. Let's get out of here. Blah, 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 this and stuff. And they finally agree. Okay, let's just go. And then they're trying to like, she's wheeling her out at one point. And Dan is like, I can't shoot her because we need her. And the officer is like, the detective is like, well, I know he's not going to shoot her, so I'm going to hide behind them and try to shoot him. And it just becomes really comical at one point. And then it turns out, like I said, since this little girl is a product of whatever experiment they were doing, she can project that same voice, that same high sonic pitch. And she eventually does that to disable both Dan Stevens and the detective. But she covers the ears of Hunter so that she won't get affected. And eventually they find a way to get out of it. They disable both of these guys and they escape. Hunter's like beaten and dismayed because she's gone through hell, like I said. And then who's out waiting out front? It's the same girl from France. And she's like, let's get out of here. So I guess they're all now driving to France. And that's pretty much how the movie ends. Now, if this doesn't sound confusing and wacky to you, then I don't know what to tell you. There are people who love this movie, and there are people who are having high praises about this movie. And I will say this, it is very unique. It is very different. It is also way out there. And it's very, very kind of ridiculous. And it's very absurd. I remember the movie and the credits are rolling. And I'm just like, what the hell happened here? What did I just watch? So it's so funny. I saw Borderlands. And I'm like, what the hell did I just see? How was a movie like this made? And I go to another movie where I'm just like, I kind of like this, I think. But I have no idea what happened. It's so bizarre and strange to me. And the one thing the movie doesn't do, or maybe it does, but I didn't feel it. It doesn't hold your hand during it. It forces you to try to figure it out on your own, which is just very interesting. But maybe this deserves a second viewing for me to fully understand, or maybe this deserves a YouTube video search of someone who just sits down and explains the movie all the way. You know, and it's not one of those like mystery, thriller, horror movies like A24 does that has like a lot of different meanings and all that. It's nothing like that. At least I don't think so. It's just bizarre. And all the things that are happening just doesn't seem to make sense, or I can't make sense of it, really, if I'm to be completely honest. But I will say this, Hunter Schafer, great performance. Strong performance. You felt every time she was in need. You felt every time she was in distress. Every time she was hurt and injured, you felt it. You know, Dan Stevens, creepy vibes all over. You know, very sinister, creepy. You felt it. Does a great job with all that stuff. Yeah, and then everyone else is just weird and wacky. You know, like everyone was in on whatever's happening there, but you know, no one, you couldn't trust anyone. No one was really uberly friendly. I wouldn't want to be friends with anybody. It was just so bizarre. So bizarre. And like I said, Jessica Henwick was very underutilized. I don't know what her role is or purpose was, except for being the mom of the little girl. You know, but even like, you could tell, like, she didn't like Gretchen. She didn't like, you know, her being there. And then there was like, apparently Dan is familiar with Gretchen, who's Hunter Schafer's mom. So they're like, everything seemed to have been all tied in and well done together and everything. And I'm just like, I felt I was losing my mind watching this movie. Even talking about it, I feel like I'm losing my mind. I'm trying to figure it all out. And even talking it through, I still can't seem to figure it out. But I think I'm closer to figuring it out more so than I was last night. A little bit more so. But yeah, I don't know. I'm just curious what will happen when people see this movie and how people are going to react to it. You know, because like I said, it seems like there are a good amount of people out there who actually enjoy this movie. I mean, here are some things about this movie. Variety says part of the massive entertainment value of this movie's wild and unwieldy feature is that it's refreshingly free of any kind of manifesto. THR, Hollywood Reporter, at its best, the movie is kind of like The Stepford Wives meets Rosemary's Baby with side orders of Cronenberg, J-horror, and Lynch. That's actually a very good description. That's a very good description. Collider, Cuckoo will most certainly not be for everyone, but for those looking for a horror film that draws you in, just as it defies any of your expectations for where it's supposed to go, it's hard to think of a trip this year you'll find that is as bold and bonkers as this one. Again, I totally agree with that. Bonkers is a great way to put this. This is a bonkers ass movie. And it's also from Neon. You know, Neon is the same studio that brought us Longlegs today, like this year. And I think Longlegs is one of the best horror movies of the year. This is probably going to be one of the more talked about movies just because of how bonkers and bizarre it is. So take it as you wish, you know. And I'm definitely going to be interested to be hearing about more people's reactions to this when this movie finally comes out, especially when it's firstly available on digital for the first time. Because that's when you're going to be getting people doing their Cuckoo Explain, Cuckoo Ending Explain videos, all those things. So fascinating stuff all around. But I had to talk about it, and I had to speak it through and talk it through, because I'm just trying to put it all together myself. And I don't know if I've done a good job or not, but it is what it is. So there you go. That's my overall thoughts and review on Cuckoo. Cuckoo, Cuckoo. All right, let me catch up on a little bit on the chats here. Vasantha Priya, I hope I'm saying your name right, saying I'm the best. No, you're the best. You're the best for watching and for leaving a comment. Again, for everyone who's watching live, please don't forget, hit that like button. Would greatly appreciate it. And everyone here will be very happy that you do. Let's see. Geek Ledger, continuing on about Cosmere. Let's see. I just want to make sure I don't miss anything. Brandon Sanderson's keeping the rights close for Cosmere, sorry. He wants to sign with a studio that gives him a relative amount of creative control. He's been trying to get talks for the past 10 years, but everything kind of reset after COVID. But he says talks are going well, though, all things considered. What's insane is there's 60 books in the Cosmere, and he's still writing more. He writes at a pace of about 1 or 2 books a year. Wow, that's quick. He did a treat for his fans and wrote 4 books last year. Jeez. He's around 40 to 45 years old and expects to be done with Cosmere when he's around 70. Wow, what a workhorse he is. He kind of reminds me, he's kind of like a Stephen King, but he's also kind of like an R.A. Salvatore and Timothy Zahn. I feel like they put out the same amount of content every year too. And I wonder if, if he's looking to turn this into a franchise as far as like movies is concerned. I know A24 is trying to tackle blockbuster stuff more in the years to come. So I wonder if maybe teaming up with like an A24 would be beneficial for him for something like this. Because if anything, as we've seen, they do allow their directors and creators to have a lot of creative control over things. So I wonder if that could be beneficial for them. And for him, I should say. But yeah, that would be very interesting to see. But yeah, oh man, I feel like my head's spinning talking about Cuckoo. But yeah, let me know in the chat if after hearing me ramble on about Cuckoo, if this is a movie that you would be interested in seeing yourself. If you haven't already started to plan for it, or maybe you already have seen it. So let me know all your chats, all your thoughts in the comments. And I'll be on for like another 10 more minutes. So if anything you want to talk about, let me know. I'm always down for the conversation and everything. And while I wait here, I'm just going to quickly just check my phone, make sure the world around me isn't blowing up. Again, I mentioned earlier that D23 is currently happening now. And tonight is their major presentation and showcase where they're going to be talking about a lot of like Lucasfilm stuff and Marvel related stuff. So any news that breaks tonight, I will obviously be talking more about that stuff on Monday's stream. So if you want to talk more about that stuff, tune in on Monday's stream. I always go live around 3 o'clock p.m. Eastern time. Let's see. Cosmere Pal, Geek Ledger, says he's currently locked in with DMG Entertainment for the Stormlight Archive, but that deal expires in like 5 years and they aren't anywhere near to getting an adaptation on screen. Oh, that's interesting. Okay. Well, hopefully for the fans, something can happen because again, it sounds like this is a great series and has a great fan base that I can understand he wants it done right and he wants to have the fans happy with it all. So hopefully something can be done with that because that sounds like that'll be really fascinating. Would you consider it to be like a young adult series? Like what kind of audience, I guess, does it appeal to? I'm curious. Let me know. Plane crash. Hold on. Was it what's going on now? Sorry, I'm on Twix right now. Oh no. Wow. There was a plane crash in Brazil. Ados, if you're still here watching, is this something that you're aware of? This sounds terrible. Oh wow, they even have it on film. Like people from the ground actually was able to capture the film of the plane. Ooh, I no, I don't want to see that. That's terrible. Oh my gosh. Very unfortunate. But that explains why it's trending, I guess. I'm catching up on some of the headlines. Let's see here. Colin Hanks joins Bob Odenkirk in Universal's sequel to Nobody. You know, I have yet to see that movie. I have it too. I just haven't had a chance to see it yet. I've heard nothing but good things about it. Let's see. What else? Just quickly seeing anything interesting. Crawl 2 is in the works at Paramount. From Alexandra Aja. There you go. This time, the Gators are heading to New York City. Of course, why not? That seems to be like the the trajectory for a lot of these horror films. It's like your horror film franchise will never peak until it hits New York. And it looks like that's what's happening here. So there you go. So if you're a fan of Crawl, which I haven't seen yet, but I've heard, again, another thing I've heard good things about. Crawl 2 seems to be heading towards New York City. Seeing what other headlines, if anything's worth chatting about. Oh, I didn't know Hong Chow is in the new Instigators movie on Apple. It doesn't seem like anything else, really. Anything worth chatting about, at least. I'm telling you, the more and more I see how D23 looks like, the more and more I wish I was there, man. What I love is that they're doing a lot of tech demos. Like they have an actual replication of the volume, and they're giving people a chance to experience how it's like to work in the volume. And I think that is brilliant. Brilliant. Geek Lecture say it's squarely adult fantasy, not necessarily like Game of Thrones adult, but more Lord of the Rings adult. Oh, that's cool. Okay, that's good. They're in the middle of a Kickstarter for a Cosmere tabletop RPG. Ooh, I need to tell my friend about that. I play D&D with a group of friends, and they're one of the dungeon master, who is a good friend of mine. He's always looking for new tabletop RPGs, so I should probably mention this to him. They raised $6 million. It's going to be a living RPG with Sanderson writing new material for it every few years. Oh, that is okay. I'm definitely going to tell my friend about that. That's awesome. Speaking of The Crawl, first episode of Stranger Things season 5 is titled The Crawl. Is it now? Man, I cannot wait for that season. I cannot wait, but I'm also going to be kind of sad because it's coming to a close. But at the same time, I think it's due because these kids are getting so old now. It's getting more and more harder for me to believe that they're still high school kids. Yeah. But man, the crawl. I wonder what that's supposed to know. What's that supposed to mean? Crawling out of the upside down? Maybe. Geek Ledger, are you a huge Stranger Things fan? Like me? What I like to do every time, because the seasons are so spread out, that every time we're very close to the new season dropping, I like to go back and rewatch all the seasons. I kind of binge watch them. Looks like I'll be doing that next year. Can't wait. I definitely want to, because I've already rewatched season 4 twice, and I love it every time. It's so cinematic. It's so epic. Yeah. Geek Ledger say, "Oh, definitely can't wait for the final season." Yeah, like I said, it's good. It's bitter. It's going to be bittersweet because you know it's coming to an end, right? Oh, also, I was just notified yesterday that the Stranger Things play that is currently in London is finally coming to New York. I don't know if it's coming at the end of this year or early next year, but I made sure to get to sign up so that I can check that out because that looked fascinating too. The fact that it's like a little prequel of how Victor kind of came to be and all that. So I can't wait to have a chance to check that out. Obviously, if I do, I'll be reviewing it here on the channel and documenting my experience because I'm sure it's going to be fascinating when it comes to Broadway here. And I'm sure it's going to be super expensive too. So buckle up, Broadway prices, you know? What does everyone have planned for their weekends? Watching anything interesting? Catching up on anything? Playing anything interesting? I plan to do a gaming stream soon because there's some games that I'm trying to knock off of my backlog for the year. So maybe I can do some of those in the upcoming future sometime soon. But my weekend, I'm going to be catching up with a friend of mine over on Saturday. And then I don't know. I got so much going on. Sometimes it's kind of hard to find the time for everything. Mm-mm-mm. Geek Legend saying the only thing I'm worried about is the fact that the kids are supposed to be 14, but they're all adults. Yeah, it's exactly what I said. Like, it's time for them to end this series because everyone is getting so old. It's hard for me now to believe that they're that young. You know, it's hard for me to believe that they're in high school because they look so grown up already. I mean, the one thing that really shocked me was Dustin. Like in the last season, he looks so much like an adult. It's hard for me to believe that he's still a boy that's supposed to be wearing those tight, short shorts and the baseball cap and all that. Like everyone went through major growth spurts. It's crazy. It's crazy. But still, the way the Duffers write things and the way they prepare everything, it just, oh man, it still works. I heard there was supposed to be some sort of time jump in this one. You know, if there is, I think that could help, you know, believe that, okay, maybe we time jumped a little bit past high school. So now it's a little bit believable that the kids are the way they look and all. So, I mean, we'll see. We'll see what happens. But like you, I'm very much looking forward to it. And I'm pretty excited for it. But like I said, it will be bittersweet because this will be the end of it. But I'm sure they'll find ways to do spin-offs. You know, maybe they'll carry on some characters further from here. You know, we'll see what happens. But yeah, it will be kind of bittersweet when it's all said and done. Clone Wars for Life is in the house. What's up, Clone Wars for Life? How are you doing? Hope you had a great week and I hope you're having a good Friday. You love the shirt, my little Street Fighter pocket square. You can't see it, but the thing that makes this shirt is the back. And I don't know if I can show you, probably not. But it's the old school character select screen from Street Fighter 2. That's the back. So, yeah. This is definitely one of my favorite shirts. Plus, it's very thick. It's nice quality. So, thank you. I appreciate you recognizing that. How have you been? Doing good. Took home some medals from the weekend, a new belt, and got a hoodie. Congratulations, man. That's awesome, dude. Very happy to hear that. I'm good, man. I mean, I live in life. I have a lot of things going on behind the scenes, just life stuff. So it's been keeping me kind of busy. But here today, I spoke about many different things. I gave my reviews on the Borderlands movie, Cuckoo, the latest, the new horror thriller movie, mystery thriller, however you want to say it. So I gave my reviews on that today and just talked about other random stuff, so good things all across the board overall. Do you have any tournaments this weekend? Geek Ledger saying, I did hear that Joe Keery did pitch a dark comedy sitcom spinoff off shortly after WandaVision aired. It would have followed Steve moving back to Hawkins in the 90s with his wife and kids. Ooh, that could be interesting. I could see them doing that with some of the characters, right? Because that would be kind of cool. Clone Wars saying, thoughts on Deadpool and Wolverine? I'll say this. 4 out of 5 stars. Amazing nostalgia and great homage. And this is like what I say is what the way I kind of describe this movie. It's like this is like a love letter to fans who have watched all of these Marvel movies, not just MCU, but all the movies that came before that. This is like a nice love letter to these fans, to all of us who enjoyed, endured, suffered from a lot of these movies. It's a nice closure on past franchises and the like. It was very enjoyable, a lot of fun, definitely a fun time at the theater. But if you were to strip away all the fandom, all the throwbacks, all the cameos, all the references, and some of the action sequences, if you were to strip all that away, the movie is not much of a movie. It's really not, But because you have all of that in play, it was a fun ride. It was definitely a fun ride. So I really thoroughly, I saw it twice in the theaters. And when I saw it the second time, I enjoyed it just as much as I did the first time I saw it. It was really, really cool. It's a silly movie. It really is. It's silly, but it's great. It's great. It doesn't push the needle forward as far as like the MCU is concerned. It doesn't help close out the multiverse or anything like that. If anything, it just reminded you that the multiverse is still a thing and can still be a thing, and anything can happen at this point. So there you go. But I thoroughly enjoyed it. Clone Wars, you're done for all the tournaments for this month. That's good. You get a little break. So that's good. But I'm sure the training doesn't end, right? So I'm sure that's always going to continue. Always busy. Never. Yep. That's how it is. I get that. Totally get that. Geek Ledger say apparently it would have revolved around a supernatural place called the Aside, and it's eerily similar to Hawkins, with Steve and his family accidentally getting stuck there in this sitcom style world. Huh. That sounds interesting. I can actually kind of see that happening. That sounds like that would lead to like a very interesting series. Clone Wars just got his student ID for high school. Congratulations. Are you happy with your picture? I guess that's the number one question. Because I was not happy with my picture when I got my ID for high school. An ID that was never used. No one ever checked it. Nothing. Very okay. That's good. There you go. I'll never forget. Speaking of ID photos, one of the funniest things that happened to me is I had my driver's license photo. This was going back to like early 2000, and I had to take my picture. And at the time, I was very overweight, extremely overweight. I had long hair too. My hair went up to here. So I took the picture, and I just looked like this. I look like a goon, right? So my hair is like all messy and long, and I'm overweight, my fat face, and all that. 10, 15 years later, I have to take another photo for my driver's license. And I lost a lot of weight. My beard is kind of like what you see now. And I was wearing like a leather, like a kind of like a motorcycle jacket. Not like a biker jacket, like Terminator, but kind of like a slick motorcycle kind of style jacket. So I take a picture of that. And it's so funny in contrast when you put the two to two side to side. I showed a lot of my friends, and one of them had the perfect line. They said, wow, you went from goon to major, what is it? Kind of boss. So I went from the goon to being the boss in a matter of 10 to 15 years. It's so funny. And I still kept them. I kept the IDs because it is a funny journey when you look back during those times. So you always wear a suit? Nice. Look at you being all fancy. Good for you. Geek Ledger saying he referred to it as Stranger Times when he revealed it wasn't picked up after he and the Duffer Brothers wrote the script for the pilot. Oh, they actually went and wrote a script for it. Wow. Give it time. When Netflix figures out that they need more stuff to milk off of Stranger Things, they may reconsider. May. Or I'm sure by that time they could probably figure out something else to do. All right, y'all. I'm going to be winding down soon. So again, anything you want to talk about before I go, let me know. As a reminder, I'll be back streaming live again on Monday, 3 p.m. Eastern Time. As usual, going over my box office stuff. See how the movies have performed over the weekend. And I guess whatever other news pops up. Oh, obviously, if major news from D23 drops from tonight, I'll be talking a lot about that stuff on Monday. So hope to get to see y'all there and hang out with all y'all fine people once again. Let me check my phone again one more time to make sure that nothing is exploding. Anything exploding or imploding? Let's see. Nope, nothing worth talking about. Also, the Olympics finally comes to an end this weekend. So I think a part of me is going to be depressed afterwards because I've been doing nothing but watching Olympics and movies. So, I mean, they could have done Stranger Times for another 6 or 7 years, and then done a revival of Stranger Things set in the early 2000s. When nostalgia for that decade, where am I from? All of a sudden, decade is slowly ramping up. That is true. I'm sure they'll figure things out, but I'm also sure that the Duffers probably want to move on from this too, eventually, right? So they're going to have to eventually pass it on to somebody else. But I like how their minds work. So honestly, I'll be interested to see what else they could come up with when they're done with this. You know, are they one-trick ponies? Can they do anything else? We'll see. They're so engrossed and enthralled in their own universe that I would love to see what else they can do outside. But I will say, with what they do and what they created, they do very well. So even though I know some people have fallen off of Stranger Things, I still love it. I still enjoy it. And I know Geek Ledger, you do too. All right, everybody. I think it is time. It's time. It's showtime. It's time for me to call it a wraps for today. Again, I always appreciate all of you guys joining in and tuning in. Huge support always for me, and I always appreciate that. Again, I said this before, and I'll keep saying it. I don't do this without you guys. This channel and everything here, nothing can be done, and it's worth doing if you guys weren't a part of it. So I really thank a lot of you guys. Clone Wars, I have 2 more national tournaments this year, both in Tennessee, 1 World in Minnesota, and possibly 1 in Toronto. Look at you. You're going to be going all over the place. So good for you, man. I can't wait to hear about your journeys moving forward and your journeys through your tournaments. So again, really appreciate you, Clone Wars for Life. Jester, who is always a pleasure, chimed in on the horizontal stream. Cosmere, your Cosmere pal for at least the next 12 days until he changes back to Geek Ledger. Always appreciate you coming and joining the streams. Big shout out to Vasanth. Oh man, VS. I'm going to call you VS because I don't want to butcher your name. Ados, always a pleasure. Am I Dead? Always a pleasure. Nice to see you back. Colonels, Marvel Cuphead, pleasure seeing Spooky Prod chiming in from France. Arnold, who was able to tune in just a little bit earlier. Very happy to see all of you guys there. Hope all of you have a wonderful weekend. Enjoy the rest of your Friday. And like I say every time, stay cool, stay classy, stay safe. I will catch all of you again next time, which will be Monday, 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Pacific, I think. All right, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your day and have a great weekend. Peace.